I had like almost a maxi pad on the back of my head, but I never felt any pain. There was nothing felt like very tiny, densely packed, prickly like line of grass. When I go and see my hairstylist, she goes, "Oh no, it's definitely new hair."
BeautySeek is not a medical provider. This is not medical advice. Always consult a licensed professional.
Jeannie's hair transplant surgery was finished, and a 1 by 6 inch strip of scalp had been removed from the back of her head. Her hair follicles were dissected and transplanted into the thinning areas of her scalp. But after hair restoration comes swelling, scar healing, and the emotional waiting to see if the transplant actually worked. Let's find out what happened next and whether her hair actually regrew or not. Jeanie, after your hair transplant surgery, what were the first 48 hours like?
I would say it didn't really break up anything that I normally would have done. We were there on vacation. I was still able to go about my business, go to shops, go to see some sites. Um, I was supposed to come back the very next day for my first shampoo. So I was not able to wash my hair that first night, which was totally fine because I still had the bandage on. But it was a normal day. I didn't feel any pain. They did send me to their on-site pharmacy to get some painkillers and I think what's similar to maybe Advil or something. So they sent me there to pick up some meds in case I needed it. And they said, I think some of it was antibiotics as well, all in pill form. So it was all in Korean, but they just said, take one of these every day for the next week or whatever. But I never felt any pain. There was nothing that then started to throb or become agitated or painful after the surgery. So I was really happy. I don't even know if I needed the pills. I mean, I took them for a couple days, but I never felt any pain.
That's amazing. Pain-free. It sounds like bliss. What did your scalp feel like? Did you touch it at all?
Well, there was still the bandage on there and then the surgical tape holding it. So I didn't really touch the actual site of the uh, donor site, but I was able to very gently touch the top of my head where the follicles were implanted to, and it felt like a very tiny, densely packed, prickly, like line of grass, So I was very happy about that because there was a lot. And my surgeon told me his initial thought was that he would be able to transplant 1,000 follicles, and each follicle has more than one hair growing out of it. Some of them have two, some of them have three. So his goal, based on examining me before, was that he would be able to transplant 1,000. And after the surgery, he said he was actually able to get 2,000. So I was super excited. And that's how they give you the price up front. And he said, they weren't going to charge me extra. It was a nice surprise that they were able to harvest more follicles than they expected. And so he just implanted them all. And so I'm glad he did. So he really gave me my money's worth, but I could definitely feel the short little, what felt like grass, and it was hair.
Did you have swelling? Any kind of swelling?
No, nothing.
Oh my gosh, that's fantastic. So it sounds like a very blissful experience.
A quick reminder before we continue. Choosing hair restoration is a deeply personal journey, and there is no need to rush it. If you are considering it but aren't quite ready yet, tap the save icon on this video right now. Bookmark Jeannie's incredible transformation and keep it as your personal inspiration. It will be right here waiting for you, exactly when you are ready to take that step.
Jeannie, is it important? Did your surgeon tell you it was important to keep the grafts hydrated as the scalp healed, or what did they give you to kind of just take care of it?
I think they did say not to do heavy workouts to where I'm sweating like profusely within like the first week, which was fine. And then they gave me some medicated liquid shampoo, where you actually like spray it and it kind of basically it's more of an antibacterial solution, just to keep the site nice and clean. But again, because they were including the nurse shampoo 3 times after my procedure, I didn't have to worry about washing my own hair. And the center was located close enough to our Airbnb that it was just a little 15-minute, subway ride. So I was very happy that I didn't have to worry about washing my hair and, being careful not to displace or disrupt anything. And, they did it all for me. So, yeah, the aftercare was very smooth. I did not feel any pain. It didn't cause me to have to change my normal routine. And I was still able to fully enjoy my vacation. There was nothing that kept me housebound or laying down or anything.
That's fantastic. And it's so lovely that they shampooed your hair for you.
Yeah, it was very luxurious. I felt like one of those older, like socialites that get their hair washed and curled, twice a week.
So you went to Korea for a spa trip.
Yeah, beauty tourism for sure.
Beauty tourism. Okay, I love that. Were you worried at any point that the new transplanted hair would not grow?
I chose to have full faith because the whole hair transplant industry, as well as how long the doctors in Korea have been doing that procedure, has been around for a while, that I knew it wasn't exploratory or, experimental. I knew it was a proven method. And, really, when you think about it, as long as the follicles are healthy, and all the follicles that they pulled out of my scalp back here were clearly had hair growing out, right? So I was very hopeful. I did not fear that it would not work. I mean, obviously, I was a little careful with anything up here in terms of, I don't typically wear headbands or anything like that, but I, just made sure I was giving a wide berth to this area, making sure that there wasn't any heavy, like scratching or anything like that. But that was totally, totally fine. And, I would kind of pat it like regularly just to see if it was still there and, whether it was like getting taller. And, it's been, I think I got the procedure done at the end of October, like October 29th or so. And now my hairs that were implanted here are maybe at least 2.5, 3 inches long. And when I go and see my hairstylist here, I ask her, like, do you feel like there's new hair growth there? Or is it just breakage of, my own hair from, coloring and bleaching? She goes, oh no, it's definitely new hair.
That's so fantastic. Congratulations. I'm so happy for you. When you were patting, did you feel at some moment, oh, now it is indeed growing? Was there a moment where he was like, oh yeah, it is, it's all good?
I mean, I feel like it's been at least 6 weeks, maybe longer, where when I pat it, it doesn't feel like really short grass, right? So I don't feel that anymore because the hair, and I think I went through a transition period where the pieces that were like 2 to 3 inches were kind of doing like a weird, flyaway thing. And so I would just use a little pomade to kind of get them to lay a little flatter. But the goal is that as they grow longer, that they will then grow to the side and then make all this thicker too. So, all the hairs that were embedded into my hairline here are going to grow up and then down. So I think in like a year, because, hair grows on average of 1/2 inch a month. So in a year, it'll be, 6 inches long. And in 2 years, it'll be 12 inches. So I'm really excited for that time period because then it will add to the overall thickness of my hair.
Exactly. Okay, so you're not quite at a point where you're looking in the mirror saying, I look so totally different, or do you feel okay?
Well, I do take photos, progress photos at the top of my head because before the procedure, when I would do that and look at the photos, I would be kind of scared and shocked because I would see so much of my empty scalp because there was so, just was not dense hair. Like I am always so envious of people who have a really thick hairline right here to where you can barely see any scalp. It's just all tightly packed hair. And so I would take photos of myself every, couple weeks to see if this balding area seemed to be more dense looking, and it definitely has. Like now when I take a photo, like I just took one this morning and looked at it, and it feels like a normal hairline and looks like a normal hairline now, and not something where you immediately think, oh, that person has some hair loss or they've got bald patches. And that's what I saw before the procedure when I took pictures of the top of my head. And now it's looking pretty normal.
I think that's great. Okay, fantastic. Nothing but a good experience. A great experience is what it sounds like to me in terms of hair restoration.
Yes.
The Beauty Seek community is very interested in being informed so that they can make the right kinds of aesthetic decisions for themselves. What questions do you think that patients considering hair restoration procedures should have answered before booking the procedure?
Maybe asking, how much. I didn't need any downtime, but one thing that went through my mind is if I hadn't already planned to be in Korea for 3 weeks, because some people may only have the time or the vacation left to go for 1 week, so really making sure that you book the procedure as close as possible to the front of your trip as possible so that you can go back to the facility for follow-up appointments. I did have to go back within a week so that they could remove the sutures and the staples. So you don't want to jump on a plane and go home the day after your surgery, because then you'll have to find another facility in your hometown that will deal with, a medical thing that some other provider did, which might be kind of tricky. I think providers of either medical service or even aesthetic services, they don't necessarily like to come in after the fact because of liability or whatnot. So make sure that timing wise, you're able to book a procedure as close as possible from when you first get there so that you do have some time to do the aftercare treatment within that facility before you get back on a plane to come home.
That makes sense. The timing of it, timing of the whole before after procedure is critical.
Yes. And
Oh,
also,
but go ahead.
timing wise, if you're going to get some other procedures done while you're there, because it is the capital of, beauty tourism and so much advanced technology there. While I was there, I started to learn a little bit about a procedure that was around jaw contouring. But since I had already had my hair transplant, they could not do the jaw contouring because it would have required a bandage to be put around my chin and then secured at the top of my head. So they said, well, if you had known you were going to do that before, we would have scheduled that surgery before the hair transplant, and then it would have been fine. So I would say another thing to ask about is if someone wanted to do another procedure, how that would impact, the healing or even just getting in the way in terms of the site with the hair transplant. So definitely ask if you're doing more than one procedure, can I have the hair transplant first? Should I wait until after? I think those are some of the bigger questions. And also, making sure that you have a very proficient English speaking translator or whatever language is your native language so that you feel very comfortable I can understand Korean a little bit, but I certainly can't speak it fluently. And I did feel a little anxiety that all this stuff would be going on in, a surgical capacity that I would not understand what was happening or what was being said. But that completely was not the case because I did have my English fluent translator with me from point A to point Z the entire time.
Let's take a brief pause. Hair loss can feel incredibly isolating, but you have the power to change that for someone you care about today. If you know someone silently struggling with their confidence, tap the share icon right now. Send them Jeannie's restoration story. Sometimes one simple message is the exact breakthrough they've been waiting for. Let's get back to the video.
Okay, did you hire that person separately or they were just...
They are provided with, and I think it's a great move for surgery centers there. They do know that a lot of patients will fly in as part of a beauty tourism kind of endeavor. And so they know in order to keep their client base growing and big, that they need to have a full staff of multiple language speaking translators. And so my English speaking translator said that they basically have somebody that can speak any language really in the world that, might be coming for a procedure, who speaks fluent Korean and fluent whatever the native languages of the patient. So whether that's Japanese or Chinese or, French. So it was really cool that that's just part of their business model. And it just immediately put me at ease that I would never have to miss any important conversations or questions from the doctor or inside the OR or aftercare, pre-care. I mean, it was seamless, and I didn't have to use Google Translate to understand anything. Like, it was literally a person who was used to dealing with doctors, knows the procedures, understands, some of the things that I care about, and was able to convey that to the doctor.
Did that person, so they were in the OR with you translating, were they speaking to you and telling you what was going on, or was it just kind of you were in another world?
I mean, I had questions when I first got in there, and I actually wanted her to take a photo of me because I wanted to see what the site looked like, all prepped and shaved. And so she said, facility rules wouldn't really allow, photos to be taken, but they did allow one photo taken of the back of my head once it was shaved, just for my own kind of archival purposes. So yeah, she was very much in the room right by my side, answering any questions, checking to see if I was okay. I'm sure she probably checked in during the procedure to see if I was fine. And I probably was blabbing about, unicorns. I don't know. I was in such a la la land. But she was there. She never left my side.
I love that. Can we talk about the removal of the staples and the stitches? Let's just go through that experience a bit because that kind of freaks me out getting staples pulled out of your head.
It actually didn't hurt at all. Like, I could feel it coming out, but it didn't feel like somebody taking a set of pliers and like ripping something out of the back of my skull. It was the nurses that did it just were so gentle and literally didn't, I mean, I could tell it was happening, but I've had worse experiences with stitches coming out. This just wasn't even, maybe it was a 1.5 to 2 on a scale of 1 to 10 of me noticing it even.
Anything that you'd like to share with the beauty seek community, with women, men who are looking for hair restoration solutions?
I think that Korea is definitely a very strong country to look into. I know that Turkey also does a lot of hair transplants, but I think Korea, I felt more comfortable just because, my mom was with me, and that's, her native country. And I just had a lot of trust in that culture and kind of their industry, their medical and plastic surgery industry. But I would say, yeah, I looked into it, did a lot of research, was on Reddit late nights, just reading other people's reviews. I really was interested in hearing about people that came from the US to go there for the procedure, because I think that would have been most similar to my journey. And so I picked the place that I did based on several reviews that I read online about people that went, and how the translation happened and how comfortable they felt. So I would say do research, because there are lots of options. The center that I went to was a huge facility. They probably had almost 100 surgeons on staff, all specializing in different procedures. So whether it be rhinoplasty or breast augmentation or hair transplants, which I really liked, because then that the surgeon that you get, really all they do is the procedure that you're getting them for. They're not general purpose, surgeons. So they've seen it all. They've seen all types, and they're really, really good at what they do. And I never was made to feel like a number. I just can't say enough good things about it. And I know that there's lots of facilities like that in Korea, but do the research and feel really comfortable. And I actually did start talking to my concierge before I even got to Korea. She and I were messaging each other on WhatsApp. So she was able to prep me for, what to do in advance of getting there, the instructions on exactly what floor to meet her on. There was just a lot of communication before, during, and after. And so I never felt like I was bothering her. If I had a question, like, in the middle of the day, I would just shoot her a message on WhatsApp and she would respond back.
That's amazing service and support, and I love that. And I hope that this interview will be something that hair restoration beauty seekers who are interested in hair restoration will find benefit in, because you shared so much with us. Thank you so much. Thank you for reliving your hair transplant journey with our community, from consult to being told no by your surgeon to boldly saying, yes, remove a strip of your scalp. The scarring, the waiting, the emotion, and ultimately the success, your hair regrowth. A strip of Jeannie's scalp was removed. The donor hair was transplanted into her hairline. There was uncertainty, and then there was regrowth. If you're considering a hair transplant, comment "grow hair" to receive the 20 questions you might want to have answered before booking your hair restoration procedure. This is Beauty Seek.
Here's a truth you need to hear. An informed decision is your best protection. Before you even think about writing a check for any hair restoration procedure, you need the facts. Go to the comments right now and type the word "restore." When you do, we will privately send you the 10 critical questions you must ask any specialist. Type "restore" below and don't spend a single dime until you read them.